After 65 years, this government has had the courage to suspend the treaty where 80% control or 80% of the waters were going to Pakistan. What Narendra Modi has achieved, that he has brought about a change in the thinking of the people, including the minorities. He is the most popular Prime Minister ever.
Everyone, welcome to The Booked. I have this book with me and the author joins us now. Berjis Desai is a renowned lawyer and he has chronicled Prime Minister Narendra Modi's transformative journey in this book, Modi's Mission. Mr. Desai, I really appreciate your time. I mean, for a lawyer to move away from legalese to something completely new, to talk about leadership and to talk about a personality such as Prime Minister Modi, what made you get into a space such as this?
Actually, this is my sixth book, though the first book on this particular genre. So it is not so much of a moving away as you say, because I am fully focusing for the last 6 or 7 years on my writing and publishing books.
In this book you say, and you write, that Modi's mission is not a biography, it's a story of an idea, and that Prime Minister Modi is the instrument of a national awakening. These are your words. So what is that core idea, and where do you see it more clearly in his tenure so far?
That's correct. It is not a political biography. As a matter of fact, it is not about his politics. None of his present-day political opponents are even mentioned in the book. It is more about his personal spiritual journey, which shaped his mindset, which led him to serve the country. And the main purpose behind writing this book is that we as a country, as a society, underestimate the extent, the sheer enormity of the work of the Prime Minister so far. 24 years in elective public office, and prior to that also it was public service, first as an RSS pracharak and then as a BJP worker. So essentially we are, as I said, we are not able to still fully appreciate or estimate as to how history will evaluate him after 50 years. And I believe that the work done by him is so transformative. The collective consciousness of the people has been raised to a new level that when history dispassionately writes about him after 50 years, devoid of politics, they will evaluate him as a person who comes once in a century. And that is the reason why I have said that just as 1947 will be attributed to Mahatma Gandhi, 2047 when Viksit Bharat becomes a reality, it will be associated and known with Narendra Modi.
Why do you say Indians have underestimated him? Because every time he has been elected with a bigger mandate, and look at what has happened post 2024 Lok Sabha polls as well. State after state, it is very clear that it is the Modi magic which is winning BJP and its alliance partners, multiple states.
No, as a politician and as somebody who is contesting elections, of course the electoral arithmetic has always been in his favor and he has come with larger and larger mandates. That's not the point. What I'm trying to say is that when history will evaluate him, that it should realize that just many of us still feel that he's just another politician. He is not another politician. He rises and transcends much above that level.
You know, the first and the last sentence of your book says that 50 years later, Modi and Gandhi will be mentioned in the same breath and in the same order. So let me ask you that question, that, you know, because this is, many will see this as sweeping equivalence. how do you see this as the right historical benchmark?
So I do understand at first blush this sentence may seem sort of an exaggeration or maybe regarded as not a proper evaluation. The whole idea of putting the first and last sentence the same is that in those 264 pages I have tried to explain and substantiate it with evidence of why I say what I have said and as to how this service and sacrifice of both the Mahatma and Gandhi of Modi will be treated on par. Of course, Gandhiji operated on a spiritual, moral, philosophical plane, whilst Modi has operated on what we can call a kind of muscular national resurgence and built India. So, as I have often said that Gandhiji, in the sense of independence, gave the country back to Indians, whilst Modi is giving a superpower, a nation back to Indians in his years in office and what he will do in future.
Okay, in an excerpt again in this book, and I'm quoting you, what the elite fails to appreciate is that Modi has triggered a structural change in the dynamics of the political landscape of India, and that Modi is like an atomic bomb that has fallen on the elites' cherished nations. Who exactly are these elites that you're referring to?
So, one of the reasons whilst I was researching the book, I realized that the extent of the prejudice which is harbored by a section of the intellectual elite, it's not the entire intellectual elite, but a section of the intellectual elite, some of our left-leaning historians, and of course the foreign media, which has very consistently spun out a narrative about Narendra Modi, which is far from the truth and which militates against the evidence on record. So it's essentially I've tried to dissect those issues in detail and explain in rational terms with the available reports, with the available evidence as to how this narrative is extremely biased and far from the truth. And this allergy of the elite, as I call it, is not only against Narendra Modi but against any son of the soil who has been educated in the vernacular, who doesn't speak King's English, and who has come from a humble background. Some of them find it very difficult to accept it, and in the case of Narendra Modi, the fact that he is a nationalist and he comes from a party which has a Hindu nationalist agenda, that is something which is unpalatable to them. And therefore, despite all his success, all his administrative acumen, his impeccable integrity, the attack is on the lines that he is essentially, is he secular, is he a communalist? That is the line of attack. And this is where exactly that is not the truth, and the evidence on record suggests something completely different.
Would you not then say that the same elites who may have been skeptical of Prime Minister Modi when he arrived on the national scene, say 11 years ago in 2014, have understood what he has done for the nation in the last 11 years? So the view of the elites have also changed. The intellectuals or the intelligentsia has also changed.
Yes, indeed, but there still remains a hardcore section of them who, despite all the progress, all the evidence, some of them even admit that he is the most popular Prime Minister ever in some of the books which they have written. But at the same time, their narrative about past events, about what happened in Gujarat, etc., is so biased and so much against the evidence on record, and they sort of blank out wherever it's considered to be favorable to him and unfavorable to the narrative which they are trying to propagate. So you are right that the extent of the prejudice is narrowed down, and it is much less than what it was when he first came into office, when he was greeted with skepticism and cynicism that Gujarat is one thing, he will not be able to administer the entire country. And virtually in the first 100 days in office, the Prime Minister proved all that he did. The Jan Dhan accounts which were opened, some 15 lakhs accounts were opened on day one, and so on and so forth. And he ensured biometric attendance of government offices, and Swachh Bharat was launched on Gandhi's anniversary. So in the first 100 days itself, he really sort of established that the same Gujarat transformative model he would do on a mega scale for the entire country.
In this book, Mr. Desai, you say that even those who adore or admire Narendra Modi do not realize the extent of his sacrifice, and quoting him as saying, Modi no koi sago nathi. How do you stop this narrative of total sacrifice from slipping into a personality cult where institutional checks are weakened in the name of a leader's aura?
So we do not, we have to, although this has been in the public domain for long, we have to understand his childhood. So as I said, that he was in a kind of, he was not starving, but he was in a survival mode. And the first 17 years that he was at home, after 17 years he permanently left home and embarked on his journey. But during those 17 years, there was not a single day where there was any electricity in his house. And the conditions were, as I said, extremely tough, where it was barely sort of enough food to eat, and at times there is on record to say that his mother, who used to eat after all the siblings had been and her husband had been fed, often went to bed hungry. So these were the conditions. Now those conditions of course may be there in millions of households in India, but at 17 when he left home, he had no idea, he had absolutely no intention of starting a family or starting a career or taking a job. His three career choices were very clear. He wanted to join the Indian Army. He tried to enroll himself in a Sainik school which was very close to Vadnagar, but for various reasons that didn't happen. Then his second objective, inspired by Vivekananda, was to become a monk of the Ramakrishna Mission. As you know, Ramakrishna Mission monks are very activist monks who do a lot of humanitarian work, and where again he tried several times, but on one ground or the other he was refused entry in the Ramakrishna Mission, and he was also advised that his destiny and his path to service lay in a more active way instead of becoming a monk. And his third career choice was to become a pracharak of the Sangh, which he finally did, and that was also full-time service. So in a situation like this, when he comes from such a tough economic situation, instead of bettering his lot, bettering the lot of his family, he has only thought of active service to society and nation. And the statement which you made, Modi no koi sago nathi, means Modi has no relative, was when he was in Gujarat. He had just become Gujarat CM. Someone came to the secretary and said, I happen to be a relative of the CM, to which this famous statement was made that Modi has no relatives, and he has implemented this throughout his entire elective public office career.
You know, so since you say that this is not a biography, it's a story of an idea.
And when I say
it's really fascinating that you know several chapters of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's life which is not there in public domain, less is known about it. Do you think it should be written in the form of more of a biography that you're talking about, Mr. Desai?
Well, the idea or the objective of writing this book, as I said, was to give an idea to the people that how history will judge him in future. As I said, that was one. Secondly, to counter this constant narrative of this elite and a certain section of society which has been trying to consistently undermine his work. So maybe at one stage At some stage, a very detailed biography will emerge, whether by who will write it is a different issue, but this is not a biography in the sense of chapter by chapter of his life. This is more certain ideas. His work is discussed, and his work pattern is discussed as to what he did, for example, for Article 370 and Kashmir, or what he did to end the 134-year litigation around the Ram Janmabhoomi dispute, or the military strategy against Pakistan, and various other achievements in various sections. So his work has virtually touched every facet of the nation's life, and that is from a person who has had no technological or management education or background. So to that extent, it is to highlight in a manner of speaking, as to how transformative or structural change he has brought about in the thinking of the people and in various aspects of the nation's life.
You also state that Prime Minister Modi will be credited for launching the most scientific and systematic onslaught on poverty through development and an enhanced welfare state on a scale which was perhaps unknown in India, and that during 11 years, 25 crore Indians have been pulled out of poverty. How do you then tell the critics or address the critics who contest these numbers or highlight increasing inequality?
Well, these numbers and statistics, I don't think anybody is disputing it. 25 crores Indians being pulled out of poverty is perhaps a number on the lesser side. This is evidence from one piece of evidence is that when he took office, there were about 128 districts which were called Naxalite affected districts, which received support from the local populace. Today, they have been reduced to just 11, which shows that the local population support has completely gone because conditions have improved. Conditions have improved, the direct benefit transfer of money going every month to the woman of the house. Things like cooking gas cylinders, water taps, separate toilets for women and girls, and various other things which have happened in terms of health care, Medicare, etc. And particularly in the last 3 or 4 years, the full impact of these development schemes is being spreading out, and India for the first time is emerging as a very effective welfare state. And the welfare state has been a very secular welfare state. As I've said in the book, that what Salma in Sarhanpur receives is exactly what her neighbor Radha receives. So there is no discrimination, and the welfare state is religion neutral, and it's truly secular in that sense. So I don't think these numbers or statistics, even as far as inequality is concerned, inequality of course exists in society, and that is a structural change which will come about soon. But the emergence of a huge middle class, as much as 400 million, is something, an incredible achievement. And all this has been achieved if you compare to what has been done in the previous regime prior to him, and in these 11 years, the statistics and the figures are there for all to see.
Okay, Mr. Desai, you write that by 2035, Prime Minister Modi believes that the direct benefit transfer system will include delivery to each undeserved citizen of universal basic services like the health, insurance and education through vouchers.
No, not undeserved, it's underserved. It's not
underserved.
Sorry.
Yes,
it's not
underserved.
Undeserved, it's underserved.
That's right. Thanks for correcting me.
Yeah.
Thanks for correcting me. And that he is pushing outcome-based fund transfers with half of new net jobs going to women. If this is the mission, where is the gap between that aspiration and today's reality on health outcomes, learning levels and women's labor force participation?
So this is, as far as women's welfare is concerned, or the girl child's welfare is concerned, he is almost obsessive about it from the beginning. right from his days in Gujarat. And various changes have been made, which are one major change which is in the offing is that after the present census and delimitation exercise is carried out, in the next election, 1/3 of the legislators will be women. And similarly, not only in parliament but also in the state legislative assemblies. Now, when women get representation at that level, you can imagine what it will do in terms of enhanced woman power. And things like direct, as I said, direct benefit transfer to the woman's account so that it cannot be dissipated by the husband. And she is running the household and she must have control over this, and a whole series of other direct benefits, including 5 kilos of food grains per person per house of that underprivileged people. So all these changes have, for example, even separate toilets for girls. It's a revolutionary thing. The amount of the number of girls who would not go to school because of there being no separate toilets, it has brought a revolution. It is a
absolutely, I agree with you on that front.
Economics, that if you improve you improve the health of the woman, and the economic progress of society will increase. So there are a series of measures being planned.
The idea of providing toilets for girls and how it changes their lives and changes generation is certainly transformational, Mr. Desai. I agree with you. On national security, sir, after Pahalgam, you say that so far it was a doctrine of strategic restraint. Narendra Modi has adopted for the first time a strategy of calculated pressure, resolved to impose decisive costs on Pakistan. Do you worry that celebrating this shift could normalize a permanent state of high risk brinkmanship in the subcontinent?
See, one has to look at the 10 years of the UPA government from 2004 to 2014. During these 10 years, there were 25 major terrorist attacks outside of Kashmir, outside of the northeast and outside of Naxal affected areas. In Maharashtra alone, something like 409 people perished and 1,000 people totally died. Not a single of these attacks there was any retaliation from India on the ground that they were dealing with a nuclear state or whatever the policies were. As soon as the present government came into power, every terrorist attack, there has been a measured reprisal to start with, and that has been followed by now a fact that we are not going to make a distinction between terrorists and those who sponsor terrorism.
Yes.
And that is the reason why attacks have been done in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, in Pakistan itself. And the kind of micro details that the Prime Minister is aware of, no civilian Prime Minister, perhaps in the world, is taking such interest and in such detail in military strategy and in terms of very comprehensive understanding and knowledge of it. So I do not think that there is any question of any constant state. You are dealing with a rogue state, you are dealing with a nuclear armed state which is tottering on the ground, on bankruptcy. It is faced with several separatist movements which are threatening to tear it apart, which is not something which is good for India. But the fact remains that it's a very explosive situation and you have to deal with it with courage but with also a very firm hand, because you cannot be cowed down by the fact that it's a nuclear state. There has to be an answer. For example, the Indus Waters Treaty, which was really something which was a national ignominy. After 65 years, this government has had the courage to suspend the treaty, where 80% control or 80% of the waters were going to Pakistan. And this one step has put such an immense economic pressure and hit the jugular of the enemy's economy, that these are the kind of measures which are being done, these are actual practical measures. So I don't think there is any question of one has to be in a constant state of alert This is a geopolitical
Absolutely.
reality of the country.
Yeah. Sir, just a couple of more questions. This page, right in the cover, it says, the predestined Prime Minister. Why is Prime Minister Modi being called a predestined Prime Minister?
So, as I have said in the book that Dr. Manmohan Singh was a very fine, cultured, very competent and highly educated individual with great integrity, but he was called as an accidental Prime Minister for obvious reasons, that he was like virtually handpicked and thrust into office. So, and he has been called accidental Prime Minister in his biography. So, as to contrast that, I have said that the way Narendra Modi's life, the serendipity which has happened in his life right from the beginning, that he wanted to join the army, then perhaps he would have been lost to politics and to the nation, but that did not happen. Had he joined the Ramakrishna mission, again it would not have happened. So destiny has almost virtually, and there is a whole chapter about his spiritual experiences, where different saints and spiritually advanced person from different sects, they all had predicted that your path lies in active service and leading the country. So I do believe that it is something which is kind of almost preordained and transcends the mere human, because to come against such insurmountable odds from such a humble background, without any godfather, without any mentor, to rise to this level and to be consistently be elected and be so popular, one has to say that this is something which is, as I have said somewhere, that it's the forces which govern India's destiny, whatever they may be, who want this to happen. That's the reason why I called him predestined Prime Minister.
Mr. Desai, my last question to you. Your publisher's note says that the book examines Modi's mission to raise the collective consciousness of India and to reassert Bharat's civilizational identity, and that he transformed India from a country into a confident nation. Then how do you respond to those who argue that this civilizational assertion has come alongside shrinking space for dissent and minorities?
I think they are slightly two different issues. Firstly, what is meant by a civilizational resurgence or a cultural resurgence? So when we say that, as far as what we mean by Hindutva, is that it is not a religion. Nobody is saying that there is any erosion of secularism. India will always remain a secular country as guaranteed by the Constitution. The question is that the civilizational cultural aspects of Hinduism is something which can unite the country across religions, across communities and across languages, in the sense that, as someone has said, a nation is what a nation feels. So I believe that what Narendra Modi has achieved, that he has brought about a change in the thinking of the people, including the minorities, who are consistently building, the confidence is being built up that here is a state which does not discriminate against us, and the welfare state, as I said, is religion neutral, and that nobody is nobody is trying to take away any religious freedom. So that is one thing, civilizational cultural identity, which can unite the nation without taking away any kind of religious or freedom of any language, etc. The second, as far as the issue of dissent is concerned, if you see the extent to which television channels, social media talk sometimes, not sometimes, very often, very irresponsibly and in a very abusive language, not only of the government, not only of the ruling party, but even of the Prime Minister himself. It is full. There are television channels, there are constant narrations going on, and all this is nobody has gone to jail, nobody has been suppressed. So to that extent, this whole idea of dissent is being suppressed, or the minority view is being scuttled. To what extent it is true is evidence from the fact that it seems to be going on. There is a lot of cacophony, there is a lot of noise, and dissent is being openly expressed.
All right. Mr. Berjis Desai, congratulations on this book. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.